Hello everyone, today we are going to explore the intricate relationships between the South, society, and culture. We'll delve into the key elements that constitute society, examine the influential theories of George Herbert Mead, Lev Vygotsky, and Charles Cooley, and discuss the development of self-concept, social roles, face work, and social comparison theory. Let's get started. The self is our unique identity, consisting of our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. However, this sense of self does not develop in isolation. It is deeply influenced by the society and culture in which we live. Society refers to the structured community of individuals bound by shared relationships and institutions, while culture encompasses the shared values, beliefs, norms, and practices of a group. Together, society and culture provide the framework within which the self is formed and expressed. Understanding the self within society requires us to recognize the core elements that constitute society. The first one is social institutions. These are organized systems that address essential needs such as family, education, religion, and government. They establish norms and expectations for behavior, providing a structure within which individuals develop their identities. Here's the list of different social institutions, their needs, value, norms, roles, and sample groups. Next, social groups. Social groups are collections of individuals who interact with one another, share similar characteristics, and have a sense of unity. Primary groups like family and close friends, and secondary groups such as colleagues or classmates influence our sense of belonging and self identity. Statuses and roles. A status is a position that an individual occupies in society, such as student, parent, or employee. Each status comes with roles, which are expectations for how to behave in that position. These roles shape our self concept by influencing our actions and interactions with others. Next, norms and values. Norms are the rules and expectations for behavior within society, while values are shared beliefs about what is good, right, and desirable. These guide our actions and judgments, shaping how we perceive ourselves and others. Now let's talk about the self from the social constructionist perspective. First is the social self theory by George Herbert Mead. George Herbert Mead, a pioneer in social psychology, introduced the concept of the social self, arguing that the self develops through social interaction. According to Mead, the self is composed of two parts, the I and the me. The I is the spontaneous, active aspect of the self. It is the individual's personal responses to the social world. The me is the internalized set of societal expectations and norm, as it understands how we fit into the social world. It reflects how we think others perceive us. Mead suggested that the self develops through a process of role taking where we imagine ourselves in the position of others and view ourselves from their perspective. This process is crucial in the formation of self concept. George Herbert Mead's theory of the social self is a cornerstone of social psychology, emphasizing that the self is not something we are born with, but rather something that develops through social interaction. According to Mead, the self emerges through a process of socialization, where individuals learn to see themselves from the perspective of others and internalize societal norms and expectations. Mead outlines three key activities through which the self is developed: language, play, and game. Language is the primary means through which individuals communicate with others and share meanings. According to Mead, language allows us to take the role of the other to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and view ourselves from their perspective. This ability to use symbols and language is essential for the development of the self. Communication. Through language, we communicate with others, learn societal norms, and understand how others perceive us. This helps us develop a sense of identity based on how we believe others see us. Language also enables role taking, where we mentally assume the roles of others in our interactions. This process helps us understand the expectations others have of us and adjust our behavior accordingly. The next activity is play. Play is a crucial stage in the development of the self, particularly in early childhood. During play, children take on different roles and pretend to be other people, such as a parent, teacher, or a superhero. This role playing is not just about fun. It's a fundamental way through which children learn about social roles and develop their own self identity. In play, children imitate the actions of adults and other figures in their lives. Through this imitation, they start to internalize societal roles and expectations. And by playing different roles, children begin to understand the different perspectives and behaviors associated with each role. This helps them develop empathy and a more complex understanding of social interactions. The third activity is game. The final stage in the development of the self, according to Mead, is the game stage. In this stage, individuals learn to take on the role of multiple others simultaneously and understand the rules of the game, both literally and figuratively. Unlike play, where children take on one role at a time, the game stage requires them to understand their position in relation to a group and how their roles fits within the broader social structure. In the game stage, individuals develop the concept of the generalized other, which represents the attitudes and expectations of society as a whole. Understanding the generalized other allows individuals to see themselves from the perspective of the broader community, rather than just specific individuals. Playing games involves understanding and following rules, which teaches individuals about cooperation, fairness, and social expectations. This stage is crucial for developing a coherent and stable self concept that aligns with societal norms. New theory of the social self and the activities of language, play, and game provide a comprehensive framework for understanding how the self emerges through social interaction. By learning to take on the roles of others and internalize societal expectations, individuals develop a self concept that is deeply embedded in social world. This process of self development is ongoing, influenced by the people we interact with and the cultural context in which we live. Now let's talk about Lev Vygotsky's social cultural theory. Lev Vygotsky, a key figure in developmental psychology, emphasized the role of social interaction and cultural context in cognitive development. Vygotsky argued that learning and development are fundamentally social processes, and that the self is shaped by the cultural tools and practices that individuals are exposed to. Vygotsky introduced the concept of the ZPD, or the zone of proximal development, which refers to the difference between what a learner can do independently and what they can achieve with guidance. Social interactions with the ZPD contribute to the development of higher mental functions and the shaping of the self. Scaffolding is the support provided by more knowledgeable others, such as parents, teachers, or peers, which helps individuals move through the ZPT. This process of scaffolding is essential for the development of cognitive and self regulatory abilities. Vygotsky's theory highlights the importance of cultural and social factors in the development of the self, emphasizing that our identities are shaped by the social environments in which we are immersed. Now let's talk about Charles Cooley's looking glass self. Charles Cooley introduced the concept of the looking glass self, which suggests that our self concept is shaped by how we believe others perceive us, and this process involves three steps. The first step is imagining how we appear to others. We first imagine how we present ourselves to others, our behavior, appearance, and actions. The first step involves imagining how we represent ourselves to others. We might think about how our actions, appearance, or behavior are being perceived. This is the mirror in which we start to see ourselves. For example, imagine a student giving a presentation in class. The student might think, my classmates are probably noticing how nervous I am, or they might think my topic is boring. The second step is imagining the judgment of others. In the second step, we imagine how others judge our appearance or behavior. This involves guessing how they might evaluate us based on what they see. This can also be based on their feedback or our interpretations of their actions. Example: the same student might think, they probably think I'm not well prepared, or they might be impressed with how confidently I'm speaking. Whether these judgments are positive or negative, they shape how the student views their own performance. And the third step is developing feelings about ourselves. Finally, we develop feelings about ourselves based on our perceptions of others' judgments. Positive feedback can boost our self esteem, while negative feedback can diminish it. If we believe others view us positively, we may feel proud or confident. Conversely, if we believe they view us negatively, we may feel embarrassed or inadequate. Example: after the presentation, the student might feel proud and confident if they perceive that their classmates were impressed. On the other hand, if the student believes their classmates thought the presentation was poor, they might feel disappointed or self conscious. Now, consider a scenario where someone posts a photo on social media. They might go through the following process. First, the person might think, how do I look in this photo? Or do I look happy, stylish, or confident? Then they might then consider, will my friends think I look good? Will they think I'm having fun or living an interesting life? And depending on the reactions, likes, comments, or lack thereof, the person will feel either validated and happy or insecure and doubtful about their appearance or social life. In this way, the looking glass self illustrates that our self concept is not developed in isolation, but is instead a reflection of our perceptions of how others view us. This process is continuous as we constantly interpret and reinterpret the feedback we receive from the social world. The looking glass self emphasizes that our identity is not just an internal construct, but is also shaped by our social interactions and the perceptions of those around us. Now let's talk about the development of self concept. The development of self concept is a complex, lifelong process influenced by various factors, including chronological, external, and internal factors. As we age, our self concept evolves, and in early childhood, self concept is simple and largely influenced by family. During adolescence, it becomes more complex as peers and social comparison become more significant. In adulthood, self concept is shaped by experiences in work, relationships, and personal achievements. Now, these include the external factors include the social environment, cultural norms, and interactions with others. Feedback from parents, teachers, peers, and society at large can significantly influence our self concept. Cultural expectations and societal norms also play a role in shaping how we see ourselves. Now, the internal factors are the personal attributes and traits that influence how we view ourselves, including personality, values, beliefs, and emotion. or emotional experiences. Our internal dialogue, self reflection, and personal aspirations contribute to the development of a stable self concept. Let's go to social roles and face work. Social roles are the behaviors expected of an individual in a given status or position within society. These roles come with expectations that can influence how we see ourselves and how others perceive us. Face work. This is the effort we put into presenting ourselves in a way that maintains our social identity and meets societal expectations. Face work involves managing impressions, maintaining social dignity, and navigating interactions in a way that preserves our self esteem and social standing. Through face work, individuals actively manage their social identities, aligning their behavior with social rules, roles, and expectations to maintain a positive self concept. Now, face refers to the positive societal or social value a person claims for themselves in a given interaction. It's about the self image one presents to others and how that image is maintained, enhanced, or restored in social interactions. Offensive and defensive face work are concepts from sociologist Irving Goffman's theory of face, which is a central idea in his work on social interaction. Defensive face work involves strategies that individuals use to protect their own face or self image during interactions. It's a reactive form of face work where a person is trying to avoid losing face or mitigating damage to their self image. Examples of defensive face work includes apologies, excuses and justifications, avoidance, and preemptive strategies. Now, offensive face work, on the other hand, involves strategies used to challenge, threaten, or undermine another person's face. It can be seen as a way to assert power, control, or dominance in an interaction. This type of face work is more aggressive and can be used to diminish the social value of others. Examples of offensive face work include insults or put downs, challenging or contradicting, sarcasm and mockery, and lastly, domination tactics. The social comparison theory, proposed by Leon Festinger, suggests that individuals evaluate their own abilities, achievements, and opinions by comparing themselves to others. This comparison can be upward, comparing ourselves to those who we perceive as better off, or downward, comparing ourselves to those who we perceive as worse off. Upward comparison occurs when individuals compare themselves to someone they perceive as better off, more skilled, more successful, or more fortunate. Comparing ourselves to someone we see as superior can motivate self improvement, but may also lead to feelings of inadequacy if the gap is perceived as too large. This type of comparison can both positive and negative effects. Upward comparison can be motivating. When we see someone who is more successful, it can inspire us to improve and reach higher goals. It can drive self improvement by providing a benchmark to strive toward. On the other hand, upward comparison can lead to feelings of inadequacy, envy, or low self esteem, especially if the gap between where we are and where the other person is seems too wide or unattainable. Imagine a young professional who just started their career. They follow a successful entrepreneur on social media who is the same age but has already built a thriving business. The young professional might compare themselves to the entrepreneur and feel motivated to work harder and achieve similar success. However, they might also feel discouraged if they perceive that they're far behind in their own career development. Downward comparison occurs when an individual compares themselves to someone they perceive as worse off, less skilled, less successful, or less fortunate. Comparing ourselves to someone we perceive as less successful can boost our self esteem, but may also lead to complacency. This type of comparison also has dual effects. Downward comparison can boost self esteem and make us feel better about our own situation. It can provide a sense of reassurance and relief that we are not in a worse position. While it may temporarily boost self esteem, constant downward comparison can lead to complacency. If individuals are always comparing themselves to those who are worse off, they might lose motivation to improve and grow. Consider a student who received a B plus on an exam. Initially, they might feel disappointed because they aimed for an A. However, when they learn that many of their classmates receive lower grades, they might feel better about their own performance, thinking, at least I did better than most of the class. This downward comparison boosts their confidence, but it might also reduce their motivation to strive for an A in the future. Social comparison plays a significant role in shaping our self concept, influencing how we perceive our strengths and weaknesses relative to others. Upward comparisons can drive self improvement, but also risks diminishing self esteem if not managed carefully. Downward comparisons can provide a temporary boost to self esteem, but may also lead to complacency. Understanding these dynamics allows us to be more mindful of how comparisons affect our self concept and motivations. In conclusion, the self is a dynamic construct shaped by a complex interplay of social, cultural, and personal factors. The theories of George Herbert Mead, Lev Vygotsky, and Charles Cooley highlight the importance of social interaction in the development of self concept. Understanding these influences can help us navigate our identities within the broader context of society and culture, allowing us to build a stronger and more resilient sense of self. Now, thank you for joining me in this exploration of the self, society, and culture. I hope this discussion has provided valuable insights into the forces that shape who we are. And please prepare for our discussion next week.